3, 2, 1.
Hot Springs School District's Response to Intervention Plan, known as RTI, is a three-tiered system of support to ensure that all students are successful. Tier 1 is that universal core instruction, which should impact 80 to 90% of your students, meaning 80 to 90% of your students should be completely successful on grade level with that universal core instruction. For those students who are not successful, it's important for us to determine what will work for those children. That leads us to levels 2, Tier 2, targeted supplemental instruction, which should impact 5 to 15% of our students. And some students will need that Tier 3, that intensive individualized instruction, approximately 1 to 5% of our students. The document that we have shared with each building and that will be shared with each teacher and provided more professional development as we go throughout this process includes information on what RTI is. It is a process of implementing high-quality, scientifically validated instructional practices based on learner needs, monitoring student progress, and adjusting instruction based on the student's response. It will involve differentiated instruction, it will involve scientific research-based interventions, and it will involve continuously measuring student performance and monitoring student growth. There is some explanation as to what differentiation is. We will continue to provide professional development on differentiation as we move throughout this school year and beyond. The Hot Springs School District Response to Intervention process is clearly outlined in this document, including all forms that you would need along the way. Please note, the first intervention cycle is 4 weeks of instruction with a minimum of 2 data points per cycle. That means that we are monitoring student progress at least 2 times with some formal or informal assessment. Then intervention cycles are 6 weeks of instruction with a minimum of 3 data points per cycle. I think it's critical to note that we are constantly assessing our students throughout this process. We do not want any child to fall between the cracks because we are letting a period of time, 6 weeks, go without checking to see how they're doing. The process is 5 steps. We begin with universal screeners that are administered once a year, and data is reviewed by the RTI team. The classroom teacher develops a Tier 1 intervention plan for any student not meeting benchmark scores. And please note that you will be linked to these documents simply by clicking on them and then clicking the link below, as I've shown you here. This Tier 1 intervention plan is going to require you to add strengths, areas of need, and determine what your child should be able to do as you do monitoring and checkpoints. If after cycle 1, progress monitoring indicates a student is not making timely and adequate progress, then we need to move to further steps. Building level principal must be notified to determine those next steps, and based on that decision, you'll follow either the remainder of this intervention protocol or possibly the dyslexia intervention protocol, which I'll show you in just a few minutes. We always want to notify parents as we develop a Tier 2 intervention plan to address any deficit areas. Something critical to note that if a child moves to Tier 2 interventions, that child will still continue to receive core instruction. We do not ever want to take the child out of that core instruction because it's important that they always see on grade level instruction, even as we're providing them additional supports to help meet any foundational lacking skills. Tier 2 interventions will be delivered at least 2 to 3 times per week and will be monitored on a bi-weekly basis. If the student is making timely, adequate progress in Tier 2, the intervention will be continued until the student meets benchmark scores and can return to Tier 1 status. If the student is not making timely, adequate progress after 2 cycles, then we begin to look at possibly moving to Tier 3. Again, students not making that progress will do a Tier 3 intervention plan. Possible steps may include increasing intensity and frequency, implementing a different intervention, additional testing, or a referral for consideration for special education services. In this document, there are important notes pertaining to the response to intervention process, which I would encourage you each to take a look at. We have to align to our AIPs and IRIs. Not every student with an intervention plan will need that, of course. And we are also looking for timely, adequate progress based on each child's individual intervention plan. Progress monitoring is a key. For the dyslexia intervention process, there are more steps and a few more forms. And so I just want you to be able to take a look at that. You're going to still start with the universal screeners. We would still begin with the Tier 1 intervention plan, but we would take a look at an early indicators checklist. This is what we call Form 2. And here we would gather some more data that we would not need if we weren't concerned with the dyslexia issue. And so I want to make sure that you are aware of that form. If the early indicators checklist displays numerous markers, then you would complete the teacher questionnaire, which can be accessed here, and the response to intervention referral form. When gathering the response to intervention referral information, you will get a great picture of the whole child. You'll have to gather their general information, their educational history, and you'll notice attaching copies of current vision and hearing screening, current discipline records, the home language survey if it exists, attendance records, state-mandated test scores. It's important to pull all of this information together anytime we're going to be taking a look at a child to provide further services. We would inform the parents. Notice to parents are included here. And we would have the parents complete a parent interview, which is also included here. If Level 1 dyslexia screening results indicates the need for interventions, parents will be notified of that as well with another form. Tier 2 interventions are delivered at least 2 to 3 times per week and are monitored on a biweekly basis. If the student makes adequate progress, we continue until benchmark scores are met, just as we do in the regular intervention cycle. If they do not, then we notify parents and we move to that Tier 3 level possibly. Again, I encourage you to read through each and every one of these steps. Important notes pertaining to the dyslexia intervention process are also included here, as well as the initial screening tools that we use, the Level 1 screening tools that we use, additional dyslexia screening tool options that we have, with links, I might add, Level 2 screening tools. And then we also have a note here of the actual district dyslexia intervention tools that we use, the Sunday System, Orton-Gillingham, Shelton Academic Approach utilizing Take Flight program. And then we also have a dyslexia therapist that can be utilized as needed in the district. Finally, there are common questions, comments that indicate a misunderstanding of the purpose and principles of RTI. I would encourage you to look at those as well. We will continue this professional development. I just wanted to make sure everyone is aware of the document, knows where to go to begin this process, and always looks to their building principal to help guide this process and the instructional facilitators in the building. We will continue PD. We will support you in any way that we can. If you have further questions or concerns, please contact Dr. Stephanie Nahus or Ms. Melissa Edwards, as we will be happy to assist. Thank you.